from Chicago and the Philippines. A comprehensive review of the week's special community events, featuring many exciting personalities, handled by the most professional Chicago Philippine Reports TV staff.
Ako po si Maria Girly Pascual. Welcome to the Chicago Philippine Reports TV, still the #1 Filipino show in the Midwest in this day of hearts and lovers and friends and good things that are romantic. Happy Valentine's to all of you. Welcome to the show. We have today all the top stories from the Philippines. We have what's happening in our Chicago Filipino-American community, and we have our segment hosts to give us their thoughts on Valentine. All these are coming up and more afterward from our sponsors, so please stay with us.
At Fox Valley Auto Group, we're dedicated to your safety on the road.
Innovations in technology are making cars safer than ever.
Look for vehicles with forward collision warning to alert you if you're following too closely.
Or seconds from a possible front-end collision.
Lane departure warnings can help you stay in your lane.
And blind spot monitors will help you see what you might otherwise miss.
But nothing is more important than focusing on driving and following the rules of the road. Sponsored by Fox Valley Auto Group.
Controversial police officer Lieutenant Colonel Jovi Espinido seemingly took a swipe at top leaders of the police force, saying his inclusion in the so-called narco list of drug protectors was surprising and hard to believe. Espinido says there was clearly a failure of intelligence insofar as validating and processing the names on the list. The police official also questioned how the list was formed.
Ang cycle sa intelligence, grabe. Magbuhat kag maayo, kontrahan ka. Magbuhat kag daotan, mas dagan ang mokontra.
Espinido notes he was taken aback by his relief upon the orders of PNP Chief Archie Gamboa. He was one of 357 cops ordered back to Camp Crame and made to undergo drug and lie detector tests before being sent off for adjudication. Espinido scored the basis for formulating the list, arguing this has been used by rogue police officials and corrupt politicians to get back at honest cops.
Kung buotan mo, saludo ko. Pero kung dili, tikat ninyo.
Even as the PNP chief has refused to identify the cops on the list, Espinido says his personal reputation has already been tarnished. Malacanang, for its part, echoed Espinido's suspicions, saying there may have been intelligence lapses during the vetting of the list.
Could be true because the president trusts him. It's not unexpected that there may be some flaws in intelligence gathering. That happens. Sometimes they're even intentional.
The palace had earlier said the president believes in Espinido's innocence and called for a deeper investigation into the matter.
The Federation of International Cable TV and Telecommunication Association of the Philippines has been among those opposing the renewal of the franchise of ABS-CBN. Its national chairperson, Estrelita Juliano Tamano, says they will do so again if the House and Senate begin conducting its hearings. They claim ABS-CBN has no license to sell pay-per-view programs, including those on the TV Plus digital box, which has been gaining ground in the market and perceived to be in competition with cable TV.
ABS-CBN is just a test broadcast. Kaya yung sinasabi nila na merong silang permit, wala po silang permit. Yung pay-per-view na sinasabi doon sa Cowaranto, hindi po pwede yon.
The Federation has around 600 cable operator members all throughout the country. They are questioning whether the TV Plus itself also has the appropriate permits and licenses.
One franchise, one channel. Yung mahiwagang black box. Bakit ang dami-daming channel doon? Hindi dapat yon. Kami mawawala ng hanap buhay. Kami nag-apply 6 years sa NTC, tapos sila shortcut lang.
But the Cable Federation itself is offering its services to ABS-CBN that in the event the company loses its franchise and cease to exist, the Federation is willing to allot a cable channel for the programs of ABS-CBN.
Pag ito yung mga probinsyano ay nawala, hahanapin, kung ipapalabas nila sa amin, hihingi sila ng isang channel para doon.
Magre-renta sila sa inyo.
If the price is right.
University of the Philippines journalism professor Danilo Araw and the College Editors Guild of the Philippines say the issue is beyond the attempts to shut down ABS-CBN. They say closing down the network will change the way other media organizations report the news.
The kind of critical reportage that we're having right now, it's possible that it may not happen anymore. There's a difference between rule of law and the law of the ruler. Duterte will be really put in check regarding the abuses that he's committing against the media.
Yung legal na pamamaraan ay inaabuso, binabaluktot para ipakita o ipalabas na kahit sino man na maglabas ng kritikal na pahayag o sino man na hindi nagugustuhan ng administrasyon ay kaya nitong supilin.
For former lawmaker Renato Diaz, the real battle is in the quo warranto petition filed by the country's Solicitor General against ABS-CBN. If the High Court rules foreign investments made through Philippine Depository Receipts or PDRs are also considered as foreign ownership, Diaz says it's game over for ABS-CBN. ABS-CBN has time and again said it did not violate any law and that no single provision in the 25-year-old franchise were violated.
Rose had to wake up early to store water before the daily supply interruption begins at 7 a.m.
Sobrang hirap po talaga kasi mag-a-adjust po talaga kami. Kailangan po gumising kami ng madaling araw para mag-ipon pa.
It's not yet summer, but 67% of Maynilad's more than 1 million service connections already suffer daily rotational water interruptions. The water company says it continues to prepare additional interim water supply for hotter weather, including procurement of modular water treatment plants to be installed in Cavite worth around 400 million pesos.
Gagamitin po namin yung available rivers po within the concession area namin sa Cavite. At ito po iti-treat namin at i-distribute sa mga customers namin na kasalukuyang binibigyan pa ng aming treatment plant sa lamesa.
The first unit can produce 13 million cubic liters of potable water per day, while the other modular unit can process 14 million liters per day. Meanwhile, Manila Water will begin its rotational water interruption on midnight Thursday until 4 a.m. This will affect more than 1 million service connections.
Kung sakasakali na magbabago yung alokasyon or bababaan yung alokasyon, yung ating pinaskill na schedule noong araw, niyong October, ito yung mga 6 to 10 hours, maaari nating muling ipatupad.
Aside from this, Manila Water will also fix a pumping station in Antipolo Tuesday night until Wednesday early morning, which result to water interruption in some parts of Rizal Province. The National Water Resources Board has assured consumers water supply from Angat Dam will be enough until June. Every household gets water supply, though not for 24 hours. As of Tuesday, Angat's level is at 202.4 meters, which is expected to go down to 183 meters by end April.
Base sa projection naman natin, may sufficient supply tayo hanggang April until May, bago umabot talaga yung mga pag-ulan, which we expect baka, kung sabi nga ng Pag-asa, May or even June.
The NWRB also plans to cut by half the allocation for irrigation by April in time for the harvest season.
Crowds have thinned in malls, restaurants and stores across the Philippines amid the persisting COVID-19 health scare. Roberto Claudio, Vice Chairman of the Philippine Retailers Association, which has over 400 members, including the largest malls and restaurants, estimates Philippine retailers are losing billions of pesos a day.
Consumer goods and even in restaurants are experiencing a 30 to 50% drop. Our total retail environment is we do something like about 20 billion a day in terms of transaction on most stores and retail establishments. You'll see that drop go down into billions in terms of lost sales and revenues.
Claudio says measures to protect customers, including temperature monitoring and hand sanitizers at mall entrances, have helped alleviate some customers' concerns. But he says the effects are quite severe and they've had to get creative in their cost-cutting measures.
We cannot reduce manpower, our rental costs are the same. I guess maybe we can make this an appeal to the malls that rental rates also be reduced, given the effect of the reduced traffic in the mall. Some malls have already reduced shopping hours to compensate reduced costs, such as utilities, electricity.
Socioeconomic Planning Secretary Ernesto Pernia says he can't argue with Claudio's points, but he is hoping businessmen can have a more optimistic mindset. Pernia, however, does feel Claudio's estimates on lost revenues are a bit hard to believe. Based on Claudio's numbers, Philippine retail is losing 6 to 10 billion pesos a day. Nikki Franco of Abacus Security says a drop of 30% is possible, while 50% is likely for only a few sectors in the industry, including discretionary retail such as jewelry and other high-end items. June Neri of BPI says if the health scare drags on until March, it is quite likely first quarter growth can fall below 6%, considering the impact on other sectors. The Ayala-led Integrated Microelectronics Incorporated is also hoping for a quick resolution, particularly in China, which accounts for 30% of its revenue and production.
At the moment, all of our factories now have started production, but in different levels of production. Before you can actually start, you have to apply with the government, and they do the inspection on the ground to make sure you have all the proper safety precaution put in place. So most of our facilities now are at 50% production. We have one in Suzhou that is still 25%. We're hoping that can get up to the 50% within this week.
Meanwhile, real estate services firm Colliers Philippines has been quite vocal regarding its expectations of a hit for the local property sector from the China travel ban, particularly for hotels and other tourism properties.
What we propose is for hotel operators, airlines, and other establishments to look at repackaging their hotel tours and make it more affordable for local tourists.
Last week, Philippine Central Bank Governor Benjamin Diokno said they are sticking to their original forecast of COVID-19 only causing a hit of 0.3% to 2020 GDP growth, with an initial forecast of the health scare only lasting until mid-year.
Up next, we have our very special Valentine weekend guest with Veronica Layton, our executive producer, followed by her husband, and I think they're being romantic this weekend, Mr. Joe Mauricio, our director. We also have Lumaningas Cabalona, probably planning a great weekend with hubby Baron and Little Rain for this weekend while they go around telling us what's going on in the Chicago Filipino-American community. We also have Melody Rabordizon, who talks to us about staying healthy and keeping that heart healthy as well. All these are coming up and more afterward from our sponsors, so please stay with us.
Via Times, vital news, vibrant views for the Filipino-Asian communities in Chicago. Via Times for your most interesting and exciting reading and your party coverages. Via Times has very interesting columnists. You name it, Via Times has it. Law, Filipino news, dentistry, immigration, humor, serious opinions, health, beauty, mysticism, Bata Corner, showbiz, and intelligently written editorials. Call Via Times at 773-866-0811.
Magandang hapon po sa inyo lahat and welcome to Veronica's segment of the show. Today, I am very delighted to have here with me a very popular, famous, and well-known writer, director, and producer. Do you like those descriptive words? Yeah, I think you are.
I don't know if they're true, but I like them. Sure.
Okay. His name is Joe Heslinga. Joe Heslinga is here today to talk about his first. Is this your first movie?
Yep, my first movie.
His first movie to be directed, and it will be premiering here in Chicago.
Yep.
Today, tomorrow.
Tuesday, 7 o'clock at the Music Box Theater.
And welcome.
And the name of the movie is called Foosballers.
Foosballer.
Yes.
Foosball. Okay.
Yeah, that's right.
Foosball It's not football. It's foosball. F-O-O-S.
That's correct. Table
Not
soccer.
F-O-O-T.
That's right.
And I guess if you're about 50 years old or younger, you have not heard of foosball. Is it 50? Am I right? Foosball,
Foosball has been around for over 100 years.
100 years?
But it started in Europe, and it didn't really come to the United States until about the 1960s, 1950s.
What country did it start?
All over Europe. It started. There's different patents that were issued at different times, all around the same time. So there's Italy was one of the countries that claims to have invented it. Spain, England, Switzerland. So there's not really a definitive place of origin, but all over Europe.
Really,
Yeah.
I'm really sorry. I didn't know it was that globally played.
It's huge. It's played. It's actually much popular in Europe than it is in the United States. In the United States,
more
it's very
popular.
popular, but in Europe, they have tens of thousands of players in their leagues. They'll have stadiums where they fill up with fans. It's a big deal.
Are you a football player?
No. I actually never. I played it recreationally growing up, but never knew that it was played on a professional level. And we just kind of stumbled upon it and wanted to make a movie about it.
It is amazing because you wrote and directed and produced this movie called Foosball. Why, if you have not played it?
Well, I mean, I have played it, but recreationally. So I knew it as a game. That was a fun thing to do when you go to the bar with your friends or in a game room or an arcade. But the fact that it was played professionally was really interesting to me because, like most people, I didn't know that it existed. And it has a very long history of being a professional sport in the United States. It started in the early 70s, and they've had a definitive world championship for almost 50 years. So the fact that it was so rich in history made us want to make a movie about it.
It's intriguing. What is it that really intrigues you about this game?
What's intriguing about the game?
Yes.
It's just a fun game. If you play it at a competitive level, it's they like to compare it to high-speed chess and boxing combined into one, because it's an impact sport with lots of physicality, but it's also a mental game where you have to test your mental tenacity against another opponent. Do you play foosball?
No.
No?
I'm not very fond of sport games.
Well, it's a game that equalizes everybody. There's people who play it that are young children all the way up to 70 years old, and it's kind of a level playing field if you can just get the basics. So you don't even have to be a big athlete to enjoy foosball.
And football was really very popular during the 70s, right?
That's right.
And why did it disappear?
Well, it didn't completely disappear, but game rooms and pool halls and stuff, the places that you would find foosball tables, went through a big change in the early 80s when video games came around. So you saw the coin-op industry that used to rely on tabletop games like pool, foosball, and they were sort of pushed to the side for a big sparkly video game machine.
How is it really played? There was a description what it is being played like a table soccer.
Yeah, it is table soccer.
It is table
It
soccer.
is table soccer. You have 3 forwards, 5 middle fielders, 2 defenders, and then the goalie will vary. Sometimes there's 3 men on the rod or 1 man on the rod with ramps. But it's set up, like a soccer field, and the goal is to advance the ball forward and score a goal.
So you have to have that the machine to play it, right?
You do need to have a foosball table to play foosball.
Okay, can you find those things in certain bars or sports arenas? I mean, not sports arenas, in clubs or?
Yeah.
Where can you find that?
Yeah, you can find foosball tables in bars, in game rooms, in basements, and rec halls.
Oh,
they're
yes.
all over. You know, breweries they have foosball tables.
Do you have one at home?
No, I don't have space for it. You know,
Ah.
I got 2 kids in an apartment, so there's not, you know, it's either a dining room table or a foosball table. We have a
If
dining
you
room
want to
table.
play it, where do you go?
Go to a bar, you know. They usually have there's a couple bars in my neighborhood that have foosball tables, so we'll go out there and we'll play.
Is it expensive to play?
I think it's about $1.
$1?
Anywhere between
And you spend the
75
whole
cents
night? Oh.
to $1.25, and you get, I think it's 9 balls, or you know, depending on if they're missing or not. And yeah, you can play a game will last about 15-20 minutes.
Do you think after showing this movie, football, there could be a resurgence of this game?
Yeah, I think so. You know, like I said, I didn't know about pro foosball. I kind of entered it out of a curiosity and just thought it was an interesting thing. But I do see there's a lot of potential in it, and I think that, you know, it could very possibly be on ESPN or Fox Sports in the future.
It was also being compared to playing chess.
I've heard that, yeah.
Maybe a lot of mental work.
Yeah, you have to think 8 steps ahead of your opponent, you know, and you always have to constantly change your strategy depending on what they're doing.
You have to really strategize.
Yes.
Very interesting. Well, okay, with this movie, can you tell our viewing audience who are in the cast as you know, the stars, the actors and actresses, and are they well-known people or stars?
Well, actually, it's a documentary, so they're not actors or actresses. They're themselves, and you know, they're not famous. They're professional foosball players, so I think they're well known in the table soccer community, but they're not they're not big famous movie stars.
How long is the documentary?
How long? How many minutes?
Yes.
It's an hour and a half.
Hour and a half. All right. So, well, very, very interesting, and I wish you luck for this venture of yours. And where do you plan to go from here?
You mean in general?
Yes.
Well, we're having a screening tomorrow at the Music Box Theater in Chicago. And on that same day, we're going to be playing in a bunch of different cities all across the country, in Minneapolis and Dallas, Seattle, Denver, San Francisco. And then on Thursday, on the 13th of February, the movie will be available to purchase on iTunes.
Oh, is it kind of expensive to produce a documentary like this?
Yeah, you know, you have your regular production costs, you know, with camera equipment and, you know, a crew. We were a small crew. You know, we raised a little bit of money on Kickstarter, and post-production took, you know, a little bit of time because we were, again, a small crew. But, yeah, you know.
Very good. And will there be any projects that are coming up after this?
Yeah, I write for the TV show on Netflix called F is for Family, which will be coming out later this year, season 4. And yeah, we have a couple other projects in the works, but nothing concrete yet. So lots of fun stuff ahead.
Okay. Joe, maybe before we sign off, you can invite our viewing audience for the upcoming showing of. It's only one night, right? Here in Chicago?
Yep, one night.
One night here in Chicago.
Yeah, come on down to the Music Box Theater, 7 o'clock tomorrow, which is Tuesday. And we'll have a foosball table there. Excuse me. I'll be there. We'll be doing a Q&A after the screening. And Tony Spreedeman, the #1 player in the world, will also be there too.
So you go in how many more cities that you have to go to?
I'm only going to be at this one.
Oh, this one?
Yeah, so
I see.
all the other screenings are on the same day, so all the other screenings will be happening tomorrow.
And you came all the way from LA.
That's right, all the way from LA.
But you used to live in here in Chicago.
Yep.
Suburb.
Yep. From the suburbs.
From the suburbs of Rolling Meadows, right?
That's right.
Okay. All right, Joe.
All
Nice
right.
meeting you and talking to you about your film, football. Football. I am really very interested about this football because, believe it or not, through confession, my first time to hear about football, but it seems that it is a very interesting and exciting game.
Yeah, I think so too.
And I'm really honored to have here with me the writer, the director, and producer of this documentary film.
That's right.
Thank you so much
thank you for having me. It's
gracing
been a
our
pleasure.
show. Maraming salamat po sa inyong panonood. Ako po si Veronica. Enjoy the rest of your weekend.
Yan! Dito na! Perfect!
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Joe Mauricio. We are here live at the Century 16, and my guest today is no other than Ike himself. Ike, General Eisenhower is the military attaché with General Douglas MacArthur at the time.
Yes.
And you gave Manny Quezon some advices on how to get these people back here in the Philippines. Okay, and of course, the general himself is no other than David Bianco from the state of Illinois. And welcome to our show.
Happy to be here, Joe. Thank you.
Okay, and we're talking about the Quezon's game. How much familiar are you with the game? There are 3 games, 1, 2, and 3. What's number 1?
Well, I would say number 1, the first game is that at this particular time, Eisenhower and Quezon got inside intel on what Hitler was going to be doing. So number 1, there was a global game being played.
Oh!
So Eisenhower was privy to that. So that's the first one. The second game that's being played, the inner political side of what Quezon was facing in the country. People expected him to have his attention there, but he was focused elsewhere on saving Jews. So that was the second game that was being played. And third of all, I think Quezon himself was battling tuberculosis.
Correct.
And so he was struggling with that, putting on a brave face, trying to do something more in his last years. And he didn't want everyone to see that information. And he didn't want to let down his guard. So I think that's also a game that he was playing.
Well, he got 1,200 Jews.
Yes, yes.
And I know you're trying to convince him of getting more.
Yeah.
How do you know? Where do you get the idea of getting some more Jews to the Philippines?
Well, I think the idea was that Quezon, Eisenhower, the Frieder brothers, they were trying to get as many as possible, as many as 10,000. That was their objective. Time, circumstance, space did not allow for that ultimately, but they were trying to save cumulatively as many as possible.
Well, December 8, 1941 is the date that the Japanese attacked Manila. Is that one reason why?
That is one of the reasons why.
That's why they close everything, and
war changes countries. What can we say?
That's a day after Pearl Harbor,
yes.
And that's the day America entered the Second World War with Japan.
Yes.
And too bad, I invited the Consul General of Israel to attend this thing, but some circumstances that happened last night prevent him from coming. So, well, we don't know what that thing is.
Well, you won't speculate on that.
No. But your role, you're an American. How did you get involved with the Philippine movie?
That's a good question. My wife, Jennifer Blair, her mother, Lenny, is from Baguio, actually. And so Jennifer and I, after living in New York for a couple of years, wanted to go on a honeymoon. And so we went on a honeymoon to the Philippines. And we fell in love with the country so much so, with the people, with the quality of life, with the food, with the traditions, the culture. We decided that we would not go back to New York City and we would stay in the Philippines. And so we just stayed in the Philippines, and we were in the arts community because, you know, Filipinos are tremendously talented and have, you know, not just the visual arts, but are obviously fantastic singers, as I found out in many a karaoke session.
Are you a singer? Or
I am. Yeah. I've done some karaoke in my day.
You've been to the Philippines for 5 years.
Yeah.
What's your favorite food? Filipino food.
My favorite is adobong pusit.
All right.
That's what it is, right?
That's shrimp, squid.
Yeah.
Squid.
Yes.
Why did you like that dark thing? Yeah?
I know it seems like a sort of strange looking dish, but I'm always somebody who will try all foods at least once. And so even though it looked a little suspect, once I tasted it and I found that it was just delicious, masarap. What can I say?
Masarap.
Here.
You know,
oh, what's this here? Oh, okay. Oh. Black Adobo production? All right.
Yeah.
I got you right there. All right.
David, you know, you're married to a Filipina. How does it feel to be married to a Filipina? It's honestly, don't look at me like that. Yeah.
There it is. This is what I'll say. When you get married to a Filipina, you get married to a whole family.
Really?
Yeah. Don't say really like you don't believe, like you never heard this.
No.
Yes, it's true. You get close with the family, all the different titas and titos, lolos and lolas, everything. And I think, you know, there's...
My family must be an exception.
Who? Yours? No.
Yeah.
Well, you need to maybe go visit them a little bit more, Joe.
Yeah, I know, but that's it. I don't want to visit them.
Well, not right now. It's not these days.
Let's go back to Quezon's game. You know, what's exciting to me is the music.
Oh yeah.
Who in the heck wrote that music? The lyrics, even the sound, the audio. I mean, it's all. Who did?
Okay, so the Rosen family is responsible for the directing. Matthew, of course. Lori is an executive producer. Their son Dean is one of the writers. He's also in a very important scene where one of the survivors recounts his story. I won't spoil that, but it's a really special scene. But Dean is also a lyricist and a songwriter, and so he is responsible for producing much of that content.
You know, not to forget, Quezon's Games won 25 international awards, the film festival, right?
Yeah.
And are you one of the recipient of that award? Eisenhower?
I would say I've gotten critical acclaim from just the common people. I'm not winning the awards. The awards are going to Matthew. They're going to Raymond Bhagat Singh, who does an incredible performance. I mean, that's a tour de force performance.
Is Rachel got an award for that?
I'd have to go back and look at the list. 29, I think. I mean, it's a lot of different festivals. yeah, I think the film's won Best Foreign Feature Film at the Houston.
Yeah.
Yeah, the Houston
How about
World Fest.
Canadian Film Festival?
It's won at the Canadian Film Festivals. So yeah, I mean, it's now on its last week in cinemas here locally. So I'll be very curious to see where it streams after this.
Yes, and we are all hoping that you get more awards for Ike Eisenhower. You know, when I look at you, I was looking for a bald guy.
Well, that's the nice thing about hair. When you're younger, it usually grows back. So fortunately, it grew back.
What else can you say about the movie?
Well, the film was shot in the Philippines on location. There is a recreated old Manila called Las Casas Filipinas.
Where's that?
Bataan, yes. Yes. Okay. It's a have you been there? No. Oh, you gotta go. You gotta go. So it's like it doubles as a resort, and then also period films will often shoot there. So shooting there in the actual location versus shooting on a green screen and pretending to act, being in the place, feeling that history, I think really grounded me as an actor, made me feel very comfortable playing the role. You know, my rapport with the different actors, Raymond specifically, he and I have a few key scenes together. He's a true gentleman. I mean, he and I would be talking like you and I are. How do we think the scene should go? He talks about his character, I talk about my character. Matthew comes and listens to it. He might have a comment or two. And then basically we go out there and they gave us that freedom to express it.
How did you come up with that role?
Oh, a good question. Matthew and Lori produced a TV series 4 or 5 years ago called The Boston the Kitchen Musical. And it was a singing musical TV series. And they produced that, and my wife Jennifer and I were lead actors in that series. And so they told us even then, hey, we got a film that we're working on. It might be 4 or 5 years until it happens. And sure enough, 4 or 5 years later,
you got it.
Here we are.
Yeah, and you shaved your head.
I did. I have pictures of that. It was
yes.
That's the perfect hair to deal with in the Philippines, I tell you though.
Yes. Well,
no hair.
No
yeah,
hot.
Exactly.
But Ike Eisenhower. Why Ike Eisenhower? Why did you pick somebody else's character?
Well, I think the character and Matthew and Lori had that role in mind for me, and you know, it was a great responsibility, opportunity to play an iconic person. I am a dad. I'm sorry. Puns are a part of me. What can I say? Forgive me, but to play a role like that, there's a lot of responsibility and pressure, and I just wanted to seize the moment, and I think heroes like these brave men and women, in this day and age, you don't hear a lot of stories about different countries and leaders opening their borders to 10,000 people and helping assimilate them into the culture and provide jobs and opportunities. You don't see that, and that's what this film, in my opinion, highlights and features. That at one time, this was the moral standard and character of these great men and women, and to be able to play that role and to be able to step in there and be a part of this history and this legacy that continues, it was important for me.
Well, it sure is a legacy. And
yes.
Do you see any descendant of this the survival of this Holocaust thing?
You know,
in the Philippines.
I didn't see them in the Philippines because I was back here at the time, but I know that Matthew and Lori and Dean did do a series of interviews and met with descendants.
They still have some?
Yes. And actually, we have family in Boston who went to go see the film, actually family friends. And there was a descendant, or actually someone who was in the Holocaust, a survivor, who came to see the film. So to be able to tie it back in with these folks is really important to close that gap and that loop to understand it.
Right. Final words about the movie. What can you say about the legacy of President Quezon?
President Quezon was a heroic man who stood up and shared his voice when nobody else would. For the people that were underprivileged, who were refugees trying to escape a very perilous time in Austria and Germany, he represented a focal point of an attack, and that attack was rescuing these people. He galvanized Eisenhower, McNutt, and the Frieder brothers. They worked together, and this is a film of hope. This is a film for young people in the future to say, hey, we have to look at these characteristics of these men and these women, these brave people, and we can do this. And these are the future leaders, and we need people who can open borders, who can help people who are less fortunate and who are in need. So this is a story of hope, and I hope that you will take the time to come out here to Deer Park or to various other cities around the United States and support a film that provides hope for the future.
Amen to that one. Thank you, D. Eisenhower.
Thank you, guys.
Again, marami pong salamat, and I hope to see you again at the theaters featuring Quezon's game.
Salamat po.
Salamat at mabuhay.
Okay, ready guys? Introducing our new Energy Star certified washer and dryer, thanks to rebates from ComEd.
Yay! We love rebates! Ay, Daniel, we are famous!
Get used to it. When you use less water and electricity, people notice.
I can get used to that.
So can I.
Take it easy.
Get rebates from ComEd on select Energy Star certified appliances and find even more savings with the ComEd Energy Efficiency Program. ComEd, powering lives.
Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the Chicago Philippine Reports TV News. This is your host, Loella Cavallona. Attorney General Kwame Raul, as part of a coalition of 21 attorneys general, filed an amicus brief in support of asylum seekers who have been trapped at the border for months, waiting to apply for asylum as a result of unlawful changes to the federal government's asylum policies. Raul and the coalition filed a brief in support of Al Otro Lado, a nonprofit legal services provider seeking to protect asylum seekers from additional arbitrary changes to the asylum process. The federal rule change at issue would bar tens of thousands of people from seeking asylum if they did not apply in a third country while en route to the United States. In the amicus brief filed in the U.S. Court of Appeals for the Ninth Circuit, Raul and the coalition urged the court to uphold the preliminary injunction entered by the district court. The coalition asserts that the government is harming communities across the country by effectively punishing people fleeing violence and persecution. Families who leave everything behind, including their home countries, to make the dangerous journey to seek asylum in the United States do so because they have no other option, according to Raul. I will not stop opposing unlawful, discriminatory asylum policies that put vulnerable people in peril. The head of a Houston-based company that was the subsidiary of a Chinese company that developed stolen trade secrets was sentenced to 16 months in prison and ordered to forfeit more than $330,000 by U.S. District Judge Christopher R. Cooper of the District of Columbia. Shan Shi, 55, of Houston, Texas, had previously been found guilty of conspiracy to steal trade secrets by a jury on July 29, 2019. Evidence admitted during a 3-week trial showed that she had signed an agreement with Taiju CBM Future New Materials Science and Technology Co. Limited to develop and manufacture syntactic foam, which is a buoyancy material that aids in offshore oil and gas drilling. The defendant specifically pledged to digest or absorb the relevant technology in the United States. The defendant then set up a U.S.-based corporation, CBM International Incorporated, and hired ex-employees of a victim company that manufactured syntactic foam located in Houston, Texas.
These employees had access to trade secrets developed by the victim company, and the defendant was aware that they had signed agreements with the victim company not to disclose proprietary information. The other employees then transferred proprietary information to CBMI and the defendant, who used the information to create a syntactic foam manufacturing process in China. The Illinois Department of Public Health is now able to conduct testing for the 2019 novel coronavirus, or 2019 nCoV, making Illinois the first state to be able to do testing in-state. Once specimens from individuals are received at the Chicago IDPH laboratory, test results are typically available within 24 hours. IDPH is in the process of bringing testing for 2019 nCoV online in its Springfield and Carbondale laboratories. The ability to do this testing will mean we will be able to detect any new cases of novel coronavirus earlier and prevent any possible spread, said IDPH Assistant Director Evonda Thomas-Smith. We understand there is concern about this new virus, which is why having test results back quickly can help reduce some of those concerns. The Centers for Disease Control and Prevention began shipping 2019 nCoV laboratory test kits to select qualified U.S. and international laboratories. The distribution and use of the test kits follows the U.S. Food and Drug Administration February 14, 2020 issuance of an emergency use authorization. The test is intended for use with upper and lower respiratory specimens collected from people who meet the CDC criteria for 2019 nCoV testing. Those criteria include looking at travel and/or exposure history, as well as symptoms. And finally, in 1951, the acclaimed pianist Rudolf Serkin embarked on a new project recruiting colleagues and top performers of the time to create a musical utopia in the mountains of Vermont. Nearly 75 years later, the Marlborough Music Festival is the world's cradle for chamber music, convening some 85 musicians every summer for creative development capped with exceptional performances and exporting music from Marlborough through recordings and annual national tours. On Friday, March 6, musicians from Marlborough come to Mandel Hall for piano trios by Schubert and Brahms and music for flute and voice by Handel and Kate Soper. One of the hallmarks of Marlborough Music Festival is the way it convenes exceptional young musicians and seasoned professionals with one goal: to create great chamber music. Marlborough is a gathering place and musical oasis defined by collaboration where creative freedom and integrity abound. That spirit is exemplified by violinist Robin Bollinger, cellist Christopher Reichter, flutist Francesco Camuglia, soprano Lucy Fitzgibbon, and pianist Cynthia Rame, who share the incredible music and unique ethos of Marlborough with Chicago audiences. And that's this week's news and current events here in Chicago as well as around the USA. This is your host, Luella Cabalona, signing off for the Chicago Philippine Reports TV News. Please check out our website at www.viatimes.net.
Selection of 21 karat gold jewelry imported from the Middle East, from Dubai, Saudi, and Bahrain. And we have a very big selection of diamond. We offer free financing for 6 months, and we have a layaway system which you can leave your stuff for 3 months. We repair gold and we buy old gold. Welcome to Baladna Jewelry.
Salamat po!
Magandang hapon po sa inyong lahat. This is our last installment for the coronavirus. My name is Melody Dizon, your Health Matters host. About a few days ago, I just got back from the Philippines, and you would have seen what the scenario was when everybody was walking towards the airport or airplane. Everybody was covered, everybody was wearing a mask, and everybody was careful with where they go or who they talk to. And I was thinking, okay, well, mask is only effective, for me at least, in the nursing profession. It's only effective when there's somebody infected that is in front of me. So in other words, if they're coughing right at my face, the mask will be effective. If they're not coughing, then I'm like, okay, I really don't have to suffer having trouble breathing with a mask with me. But then again, you don't know who you're talking to. What if they're also they're infected, and they don't know? And now you get it because you weren't also protected. So that's what we're going to talk about today, about masks. Should you or shouldn't you? So it is intended for public health and infection program and control professionals, such as the healthcare managers, healthcare workers, and the community health workers, that they are to revise as more data becomes available. The current information now, it's suggested that the route of human-to-human transmission of NCOV is either via respiratory droplets or contact. So any person who is in close contact within 1 meter with someone who has respiratory symptoms like sneezing, coughing, is at risk of being exposed to potentially ineffective respiratory droplets. Medical masks or surgical or procedure masks that are flat or pleated, some are like cups, they are to be affixed to the head with the straps. So I remember when I was still in nursing school, we had to wear the special mask, which is the N95, and that's usually when I take care of TB patients. My face had to be measured because we're not allowed to have a little bit of an opening space in my face with a mask. So it has to perfectly fit in, because if you have a TB patient, it's airborne, so you really want to be protected. However, these masks that I'm telling you about, it's only for droplet precaution, meaning when they sneeze at you, it's not airborne, but the droplet you get. So general advice warning from WHO, they said a medical mask is one of the prevention measures to limit spread of certain respiratory diseases, including NCOV in affected areas. However, the use of a mask alone is insufficient to provide the adequate level of protection, and other equally relevant measures should be adopted. So if masks are to be used, this measure must be combined with hand hygiene and other IPC measures to prevent human-to-human transmission of NCOV. WHO has developed guidance for home care and healthcare settings on infection prevention and control, strategies for use when infection with NCOV is suspected. So wearing medical masks when not indicated may cause unnecessary cost, procurement burden, and create a false sense of security that can lead to neglecting other essential measures such as hand hygiene practices. So that's very important to know. So wearing the mask doesn't protect you, maybe protect you to some bit, but it will not protect you 100% all the way. So furthermore, using an infection prevention and control of epidemic and pandemic-prone acute respiratory infections in healthcare. So in community settings, individuals without respiratory symptoms should avoid agglomerations and frequency of closed crowd spaces. So like what? Airplane, going to the mall when there's no good ventilation and you're crowded. You're in a crowded room, maybe, what's a crowded room? Maybe a theater, watching a movie. I don't know. I'm not saying to stop your life, but I'm saying this is the examples of crowded spaces. But you still have to continue preventative measures. A medical mask, again, is not required as no evidence is available yet on its usefulness to protect non-sick persons. So if masks are used, the best practices should be followed on how to wear, remove, and dispose of them on hand hygiene action after removal. Individuals with respiratory symptoms should wear medical masks. Yeah, should be the one wearing the medical mask, not the people without. And seek medical care if experiencing fever, cough, and difficulty breathing as soon as possible or in accordance with local protocols. So to all countries, they said it is expected that further international exportation of cases may appear in any country. So thus all countries should be prepared for containment, including active surveillance, early detection, isolation, and case management, contact tracing and prevention of onward spread of NCOV, and to share full data to the WHO. Countries are reminded that they are legally required to share information to WHO under the IHR program. Countries should place particular emphasis on reducing human infection prevention of secondary transmission and international spread, contributing to the already international response through multi-sectoral communication, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and collaboration and active participation in increasing knowledge on the virus and the disease, as well as advancing research. So the committee does not recommend any travel or trade restriction based on the current information available. So that's what we have, folks. Until we get the vaccine, until we get the treatment for it, right now it's a mystery. They're trying to find out if it, I heard news yesterday that this one patient in one of the hospitals in Chicago did not go to China, but seems to have all the symptoms of NCOV. So it can mutate. That's the worst thing about viruses. It can mutate. So by the time you catch it, they're on to another form again, and yet you have to always change your mode of treatment. So again, folks, I am for healthy living. Let's try to, and not only healthy living, but creating awareness to everybody, not cause more panic than there is already right now. I know masks are gone. You cannot buy them anywhere, but you got to be able to use your common sense as well, when to use it and when not to use it. Magandang hapon po sa inyong lahat. This is Melody Dizon, your Health Matters host. Thank you.
Well, we have come to the segment of the show where I can greet myself a happy birthday, celebrating my 60-something. Yes, I am, 6 decades. And I hope God will continue to bless my family with health. And of course, hopefully we'll all be together. And then we also have different events. Congratulations to the Asian American Coalition of Chicago, who is celebrating their Lunar Year event this weekend. Congratulations to the organizers, particularly to the Indian American community of Chicago. And that's our show for today. Ako po si Maria Girly Pascual. Maraming salamat sa inyong pagsubaybay. I'm wearing a little touch of red in preparation for Valentine's Day. And advanced happy Valentine's to all of you. Thank you, and we'll see you back here next week.
So